The Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet games for the Nintendo Switch family of systems might be some of the most technologically unsound piece of garbage video games I have ever played in my entire life. And I am old enough to be considered an unk now, so I have played a lot of video games in my day. That being said, they did make Mouse Hold. So it's pretty good. Hi everybody, Zackingball here, the internet's buffest nerd. With the Switch 2 era finally upon us and the Switch 1 era closed, I thought there no better a time than to list my top 25 Nintendo Switch games. I've played a lot of new games on the Nintendo Switch. I played a lot of indie games on the Nintendo Switch. I played a lot of remakes, re-releases, remasters, etc. on the Nintendo Switch. So let me go through a couple of ground rules here for my top 25 list. 1. There will be older games appearing on this list, and there will be games that appeared on other systems or on PC available on this list, whether they're indie games, whether they're remakes, etc. If something was available to play on the Nintendo Switch and people have the ability to buy them and I've played it on the Switch, I feel confident enough to speak to its quality, so it might end up on the list if I played it there. Secondly, I will try to make my thoughts as succinct as possible, and I'm willing to discuss further in the comments for those with the minds to deliberate. But finally, and most importantly, this is my list with my opinions, and my opinion is flippant and quick to change. So if you don't like my list, that's okay. Tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. Let me know why you disagree, and I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to discuss. Now that I've mentioned Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are number 25, let's just keep it going. Echoes of Wisdom is the newest mainline Zelda game at this point, and the first one that actually lets you play as the series' titular character, Zelda. It sees the return of standard dungeon design that was missing from the open world games, as well as offering the first new top-down game in over a decade. This game has beautifully reimagined locations from the series' history and offers a fun new way to play by copying every single enemy and object you can find. This allows the player to engage with puzzles in a completely unique and fun way, until you get something like the water block and just break the game. New Pokemon Snap is a perfect game for its genre, with the stupidest name possible. It is by far the prettiest and most immersive Pokemon game yet, with gorgeous visuals and Pokemon interacting in levels in realistic and believable ways. There are over a dozen visually distinct tracks with their own biomes and ecosystems, and the game also does a very good job of providing different Pokemon types within their somewhat restrictive areas. Even in a beach level, for example, you get more than just water types. And Pokemon from each of the first 8 generations are well represented in these natural environments. Houndoom is here, all of the evolutions are here, Meganium is the main character. What more could a true fan of the series want, aside from the main games to look like this? Kirby has desperately needed a shakeup for a long time. Not to bash Star Allies or Return to Dreamland or things like that, but they're not going to be on this list. This game plays very intuitively and so effortlessly that it's hard to believe this is the first mainline 3D Kirby game. Kirby has more limited copy abilities here, but you can upgrade and augment them as you progress, which helps. And one thing that will become very clear in this video is that I love platformers where you have bonus missions or collectibles in each level. I love it so much that I went back and saved every single Waddle Dee in this game so that it would not weigh so heavily on my conscience. Also, Clawroline is the best boss. She's such a diva. I have to be in a very highly specific mood to play a game like Fire Emblem. So, when I tell you I beat 3 houses 3 times, it should tell you that this game is very good. The gameplay is absolutely solid, even if I sometimes feel ridiculously overpowered in casual mode, but the main draws are the characters and the stories surrounding them. Especially where we are in the world politically right now, I think it's nice to have a story that makes people think for themselves about who the bad guys are. It's Edelgard, just as like a disclaimer, is but it's nice that the game lets people come to that conclusion on their own and argue about it on Twitter for years. It doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't hammer in some message. You as a player should be able to infer which character's values you align with, and I just love that. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is a game that begs the question, what if Toad couldn't run fast or jump? Well, the game would be boring, right? Wrong again. By limiting Toad's movement, the levels can focus, instead of being platforming heavy, on being exploration heavy, feeding into the motif of the captain himself. He's a small little guy in a big world, but the levels never feel overly daunting, permitting the player to peruse these precarious platforms and ponder about the puzzles peacefully. Finding all the collectibles and completing the missions once again bumps the game up for me, but the way the game recontextualizes mainline Mario mechanics for a more puzzly game makes it very easy to quickly pick up and solve these little diorama levels, giving both Toad and Toadette their time to shine in what is easily the cutest game you're going to see on this list. When I played this in my 31-day Mario Marathon stream, multiple people went and bought the game or tried the free demo, which is cool as hell, and I suggest you do the same. Luigi's Mansion is such a unique concept, and it's also a cute puzzle-focused exploration game like Captain Toad. This third Luigi game adds more depth to the already interesting setup by giving Luigi a toilet plunger to pull objects, a little jump that blows wind everywhere, a slam attack where he flings stuff with the vacuum, and Gooigi. In the first game on the GameCube, there were a max of 2 answers to any given puzzle, but here you have to use like 5 abilities in any given place to maybe uncover a secret. Also, it's in a hotel now, allowing them to structure the game around 15 expansive floors rather than one sprawling interconnected house. This is how they can get away with having a single building like in the first game, but also make the game have unique and varied locations like in Dark Moon. I remember playing Skyward Sword on the Wii, and it was the first brand new Zelda game I couldn't wait to play. Like, I anticipated this one, whereas the rest I had played before, I got them as a gift or something, or my brother just had it. So this excitement in my young brain probably made some of the bigger issues with the game more palatable. With my age and perspective, however, I realize how many errors Skyward Sword makes, like Fi interrupting you constantly, motion controls being used for every single item, some certain filler segments of the game. However, the combat and dungeons are some of the best in the series. That's why I love that the HD version on the Switch removes those little nitpicks people had and allows the game to shine in the way that I saw it back in 2011. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is very fun. I have an entire review for this game up, so if you want more in-depth thoughts, please check it out, and remember to subscribe for more reviews or Nintendo videos. To summarize that review though, the new power-ups are great, finding the collectibles is fun and simple to achieve, the badge system is sick, the character select is slay, the level design is consistent and inspired, and the wonder effects in each level are weird and strange, and they're interesting ways to break up standard platforming gameplay. I was never the biggest fan of Metroid. I messed around with Super Metroid on my Wii U, and I played Fusion on my GBA as a kid, but I never really got into the games. Dread was the first one I played at launch, and it has such fluid and intuitive movement options in it. Samus controls so smoothly and has a variety of tools for both exploring and combat that you slowly uncover as the game progresses. Dread feels like it really modernized what I liked about the older games and brings up to the heights of the indie Metroidvania games that have pushed the genre so much further since the Game Boy Advance. Backtracking and finding all the collectibles in a given area is such an exciting way to test out the last couple powers you got, even if the Shine Spark segments took me forever to figure out, and I ended up Googling a lot of those ones. The areas with the Emmy are creepy and nerve-wracking, and they really live up to the name Dread, which makes it so much more fun to finally blow them up into a million little pieces. Every single game that has come out now has to have farming because Stardew Valley came in and gave all the girlies everything they never knew they needed. Unfortunately, every cozy game since 2016 has felt lackluster compared to Stardew Valley. There's such a breadth of hidden moments and quirks and intricacies into this game. The level of nuance in what the player decides to prioritize in a given day fuels this experience with such a great amount of agency that it's often overwhelming. But even if I can't complete every little thing by year one, like, at the end of the day, I'm growing carrots and blueberry bushes, I'm milking a cow. Like, it's so chill, why am I stressing out about this? It's because there's so much fun content in this game that I'm eager to see it all in a timely fashion. Like, I gotta get married, I gotta find all the Easter eggs, I need to reach level 80 in the mine, I gotta get the hutch for my chicken, and find the mare shorts. And it's all due tomorrow, and there's no time. One of the only criticisms I hear for Super Mario Galaxy is that it was too linear when compared to 64 and Sunshine. So when Nintendo announced 3D World for the Wii U, people were even more upset that they were doubling down by making the experience so similar to Mario's 2D adventures. After Odyssey though, people have come to appreciate everything 3D World does right. The levels are expansive enough to have multiplayer experience I can actually enjoy, while still offering challenging sections for the green stars. Having Rosalina as an extra character is also very cool, as this was her only time being playable in a mainline game, and she's my favorite. The cat power-up is cute, the double cherry is so fun, and the new enemies like Conqueror are funny. The game has so much creativity that got glossed over in 2013, and I'm glad that with Bowser's Fury packed in, people seem to have come to respect it. Hollow Knight might be one of the hallmark indie games that had the big companies sweating and completely redefined so many traditions of its genre. Other developers tremble in the presence of the three people who worked on this masterpiece. The movement, progression of power, combat, theming, and atmosphere, and the lore are all 10 out of 10. The boss fights are tricky and satisfying to destroy. It makes me feel like a god when I beat one like the second time I fight them. The augments you can equip are fun and customizable. The whistle of the map guy is like finding an oasis in the middle of a desert. My only very minor gripe with this game is that sometimes I am impatient and I wish there were more benches. My major gripe with this game is that I learned that maggots can be chopped in half and keep squirming. Ew. And I hate spiders. I don't like shooters. The only shooter I sometimes play is Fortnite because I can be Lady Gaga dancing to Gangnam Style, or I can be Ernie the Giant Chicken from Family Guy. But Splatoon is colorful and pretty and cute, and that's enough for me. I love the Inkstorm, I love the character Marina, I love the Octobrush. The single player levels utilize the ink and swimming capabilities of the Inkling design super well. The multiplayer is simple and easy to hop into, and ranked modes are more strategic and favor different weapons, leading to a wide variety of usable guns and combat options. And if you hadn't played the series, I'd recommend the third game. I just prefer Splatoon 2 because I played it a lot more when the Switch was new. Smash Bros. Is fun and has a lot of iconic playable characters. Smash has always been so fun for me to play with others primarily. I've dabbled in 1v1 tournament style matches, like legal stages, no items, blah blah blah, but it's always been so fun to casually play with others. My favorite Pokemon is Ivysaur because of Smash. When Brawl dropped, he was the first character I played when my brothers and I got the game. That moment is so special to me, I got an Ivysaur tattoo. Here he is, see him? So yes, this game is good because the movesets and the new characters are very well thought out and representative of the series they come from. Yes, it's a great and intuitive fighting game. Yes, it's a celebration of Nintendo and other video games, but it's also a very sentimental series to me, and I love it. And I like Banjo-Kazooie. This game is fun, but it's also old, and there's no playable penguin. 0 out of 10. Although there is Yoshi's Island track, 10 out of 10. Remember how I said I don't like shooters like a minute ago? I was apparently lying. Metroid Prime is a game I'd never played as a kid. I tried it a few years ago, but I couldn't understand why the C-stick on the GameCube didn't just turn my camera, so I gave up pretty quickly. But with the new remastered version of this game on Switch, I could play it with more modernized controls, and I can finally realize now how much I was missing out on. The exploration of this game is made so much more engaging with how gorgeous and evocative this world is. So many familiar and naturalistic environments are juxtaposed by the alien technology and the creatures that inhabit them, making this a game where the atmosphere piques your curiosity and goads you on to venture further. Similarly to Metroid Dread, this game's backtracking for collectibles is one of the main draws for me personally, but the boss fights and puzzle solving are exceptional here as well. If every shooter was this good, Call of Duty would be my favorite, but it's not. Pikmin 1 was the first video game I had ever beat as a wee lad, enshrining this series as a favorite of mine. The character design of both the Pikmin and the enemies strike a balance of natural and fantastical. Sometimes you have a frog, and sometimes you have a Mamuta. Sometimes you get a grub, and sometimes you get the man at legs. The gameplay style for Pikmin is entirely unique, and so it's very exciting that Pikmin 4 is the biggest game in the series by a considerable margin. with 9 different Pikmin types, 6 main story areas, 18 challenge missions, 24 caves to explore, 84 enemies, and 410 different treasures to collect for 100% completion. The amount of content is expansive and exciting, and it all feels like a quality and well-balanced experience. If I were to replay this game, I'm sure it would shoot up to my top 5. You could put either Tropical Freeze or Donkey Kong Country Returns here, but regardless, both Donkey Kong games stand out in the genre, even now, over a decade later. These Switch versions see both games receiving easier modes to play through these difficult and challenging 2D platformers, but even still, they can take a while to complete, especially if you try to collect all the puzzle pieces and the Kong letters hidden in each level. The artwork and level design has so many details and are all thematically appropriate while still feeling unique when compared to the other levels in the same world. Some of my favorite levels are this one where you jump on an oversized maple leaves on some autumnal mountain, love the fall, or where you're traversing a scorching savanna, or even flying through a popsicle factory in the middle of a jungle on a rocket barrel. I could sing these games' praises till I'm blue in the face, but I could summarize by saying that I love 2D platformers so very, very much that I would consider Tropical Freeze to be the best one ever made, except for Celeste. I remember when I first saw this game shown off in a Nintendo Direct, and I was like, it's a pixel game, alright. And then I moved on very quickly. But then I saw the reviews when it dropped, and multiple places were giving it a perfect score, so I was like, oh, okay. After checking it out, I decided to give it a try, and everything just clicked. Celeste is a difficult and frustrating game that can kill you 1,000 times in a row, but when you come back to that level you were stuck on, the game tells you, you got this. You can do it. Celeste is an excellent example of a game that forces the player to identify with the main character. Just as Madeline is trying to overcome this mountain and prove that she can do it, the player is trying to overcome these difficult levels. When Madeline breathes a sigh of relief at the end of a ridiculous and monumental segment, so do I. So many incredible mechanics to mix up movement options, so much emotional music, such wonderful usage of color and pixel art bring these very level themes to life. It can be frustrating and kill you over and over again, but it doesn't waste your time. Mario makes you hear that defeating music when you lose a life, making you feel punished for having failed. But Celeste puts you right back where you started and encourages you to just try one more time. It's also very cool that there's a trans character in a huge hit video game like this. The scene where Madeline has a panic attack and the game parallels it with this golden feather is where everything in this game clicked, and I realized the significance of what I was playing. Okay, and before we get to the top 5, I have a good amount of honorable mentions I'd want to highlight, so I'm going to try and get through them as fast as I can. Here we go. Bam! I love Paper Mario, but only like 2.5 of them. So when Nintendo announced Origami King back in 2020, I was pretty disappointed. But then somebody sold me on Bug Fables, which is exactly what I wanted gameplay-wise. I need to revisit it because I don't think I ever beat it all the way, but if you like the first 2 Paper Mario games, you should check out Bug Fables. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Rabbid Peach is funny. Giving her a gun is even funnier. This game usually goes on sale for like $10, so give it a shot if you're even somewhat interested. I struggle with longer games recently, which is a hurdle for me playing Tears of the Kingdom. I put about 25 hours into it, but with the Switch 2 here, I might just try it there. I don't know. I just feel like I need more time and more patience before I can speak on this one definitively, but I enjoyed what I played. This game is very good, and I even played it for the first time on Switch. If you don't know anything about Undertale or you haven't even heard of it, then I don't know. I got very close to getting 100% in Crash Bandicoot 1 on the Nintendo Switch. It was very infuriating, and some of the levels are awful, but the animations and colors in this game are beautiful, and it's very rewarding to beat a super difficult platforming to me personally. Plus you get 3 games for the price of like 1, so I'm not a big fan of this style of RPG. I've played Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 for at least 20 hours each, and I've given them all a fair shot. I see exactly why people like them. I understand why people like them, and if you like traditional JRPGs like this, I think you're gonna love them. That being said, my favorite was the first one because it was the simplest and easiest for my chimp brain to understand, so that's my favorite. King Me, Connect 4, D-Pawn to NC6. This is exactly what you pay for, and it's great. Both local and online play for 51 cute little minigames. I think South Park is funny, and I love this grid-based take on a turn-based game. and the game is called Butthole. And now we get on to our top 5. Animal Crossing is so cute and came at the perfect time for a lot of people. I do wish they kept up the updates more consistently, and I'm sure COVID played a heavy hand in how infrequent they were. However, I played this game for like 500 plus hours, so I can't complain that much. If you still have never played any Animal Crossing game, just get the next one as soon as it comes out, because I really have no way to explain exactly why I find it so fun. Get the next one, play with any friends who have it, and I hope you love it as much as I did. I cannot recommend this enough. This might be my favorite Mario game ever. Nostalgia for Galaxy is powerful, 3D World is sick, but there's something about Odyssey. It is just like, yeah, this is the next step for Mario games. 15 huge, expansive levels, 40-ish new power-ups with the capture mechanic, and like 10,000 moons to collect. It takes some notes from Banjo-Kazooie nearly 20 years later and gives you 50 or 100 unique purple coins in every level for costumes and decorations for your ship. In 64 or Sunshine, when you collect a star, you get kicked out of the level. Odyssey also adopts the new policy from Banjo, where instead, you get a moon and just continue to explore and jump around and find new secrets. It flows so effortlessly. You get amazing new enemies like the Uproot and the Pokio, the platforming is fun, the boss fights are fun, the levels feel distinct, and the supporting characters like Pauline, Glydon, and the Brutals make the game feel so fresh and new. This game is a 10 out of 10, and if you haven't played it yet, then hop to it. Pikmin is my bias. Yes, this is a Wii U game, but I bet most of you have never played it. How about we fix that? This is my personal favorite Pikmin game, and that's saying a lot coming from me. There are no caves, and the game is shorter, which might sound disappointing to some, but for me, it makes the gameplay setup and moment-to-moment decisions more deliberate and impactful for the player's outcome. When you jump into a cave in Pikmin 2 or 4, the timer stands still, trivializing the need for it to exist. In Pikmin 3, every second counts. It's a game where you could beat it in one sitting and next week try another run and do even better. And for some people that's not very exciting. But for me, who loves the Pikmin formula, I could play it over and over again. In fact, I think I've played this game like twice a year since it released, and I get a little better every time. You also have new Pikmin types like the Winged and Rock Pikmin, which are super cute and have unique properties for puzzles and combat. And the Switch version has difficulty settings and bonus challenge missions for the 12 people who might have played it on the Wii U. Breath of the Wild might be the best launch title for any system I've played. The ability for me to run in any direction and fight enemies with whatever tools I want and interact with the environment to solve puzzles is so inviting for people to just mess around and see what might work. I actually like that the weapons break, since it forces me to think on my feet and work with whatever hand I'm dealt. The shrines are interesting and tricky, except for the combat shrines. The world is beautiful and stylized, and the exploration is so liberating. So many times, I would be going one way, then get completely sidetracked and tangent off for 100 little reasons, and it was so fun when playing to be completely free to do so. I love this game so very much, and it holds such a special place in my heart. This is my favorite game of all time. The Thousand Year Door is a game that I love to death. This game took so many weird and creative liberties with the Mario characters and universe, and the remake on Switch amplified them all with brand new sprites, animations, and flourishes. This game is beautiful, and the lighting in the HD version adds so much to the tone of certain moments and just the game overall. The partner system takes what are normally simple Mario enemies and makes memorable characters out of them, while also introducing new designs entirely with Flurry and Vivian. The combat style is great because while it's a turn-based RPG, you also have timing-based action commands to deal or mitigate damage. With Goombella's Tattle ability, there is very little ambiguity about what kind of damage you're able to deal and how many hits you can take from any given opponent. And when you pair that with the badge system, you get a game that feels highly strategic for any fight. I could say a lot more about this game, but if you like the Mario universe at all, I highly recommend you give it a chance. So that's my list. I have played over 100 games on the Switch in the past 8 years, and these are my favorites. If you agree or disagree with anything I said, again, please feel free to let me know in the comments for further discussion. And if you want more Nintendo Switch or Switch 2 content in the future, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and consider checking out my Twitch streams 4 days a week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.